Mingla. My name is Kimberley Phillips, and joining me in the studio today is Swedish Ambassador for Human Rights, Annika. Annika, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Kimberley.
In your op-ed circulating in local media today, you note that this is your first trip to Burma. What are your priorities for the trip?
Well, what brings me here is actually my mission, my mandate. I'm, as you said, Kimberley, Ambassador at Large for Human Rights, Democracy and the Rule of Law within the Foreign Ministry of Sweden in Stockholm. It means that I am to liaise with governments all over the world on human rights, democracy and the rule of law, which is a cornerstone in our own foreign policy engagement, ranging from political dialogue to development cooperation, trade promotion, etc. So I'm here to follow up on the comprehensive engagement of Sweden here in Myanmar.
Okay. In your op-ed, you note freedom of speech, and we're seeing the online sphere in Burma increasingly under attack, with an increasing number of 60/60 cases or defamation cases being brought under the NLD-led government. What does this mean for the transition to democracy in this country?
Well, the free word or freedom of speech has been very important to Sweden in our development as a peaceful and stable and macroeconomically successful society. We believe that it has served us very well during the 250 years that we have benefited from freedom of expression. I think it's key in every vibrant society to have it. We are concerned that Article 66 can be applied in an arbitrary manner. We are the initiators behind the resolution in the Human Rights Council that stipulates and establishes that human rights are applicable whether it be online or offline. It's the same, and the limits to freedom of expression are also the same online as offline. So that is the starting point for us.
Okay. During your trip, will you be advocating on any freedom of speech issues?
This is central to our human rights policy, so naturally this is going to be among the themes that I'm going to address, yes.
Sure. So moving to the ongoing peace process, what is Sweden hoping to see come out concretely from the second round of the talks beginning on Wednesday?
We are of course welcoming that the peace conference is taking place. It's overdue, so it's welcome that it takes place. We wish it to be an inclusive exercise that includes both those who hold arms, but also those who do not hold arms, such as ethnic, religious minorities, youth, women, etc.
So speaking of women, in your op-ed you do mention the benefits that gender equality bring to a broader society. In the first round of the 21st Century Panglong talks, we saw quite a disproportionate underrepresentation of women at the peace table. What does this mean? How does this impact chances at lasting and sustainable peace when women are muted, their voices are marginalised?
Well, I happen to represent the world's first deliberately outspoken feminist government that advocates a feminist foreign policy that starts from the premises that women should have access to the same resources as men, the same political and economic representation, and also the same rights to be able to shape their lives and their societies in equal measure to men. And it has actually been empirically proven that within peace and security this is particularly important because women bring different experiences to the negotiating table. And with women around the table, when one negotiates peace, manages peace, and discuss societal developments, those developments tend to be more sustainable when women are around. So the constant question that our foreign minister is asking herself when she travels around the world is, where are the women? Bring in the women. Let's hear their voices.
Okay, how would you recommend doing that though in a country where perhaps there are more structural barriers or social barriers?
That is why Sweden is so heavily engaged in development. In Myanmar, our development cooperation, which is considerable, $30 million per year, is very much geared towards human rights, freedom of expression that we touched upon before, and gender equality.
Okay, so moving to the ongoing crisis in Arakan State, Rakhine, the government has firmly stated that they are going to disassociate from the upcoming fact-finding mission spearheaded by the United Nations Human Rights Council. What message does this send to the international community to absolve themselves from any inclusion in this process?
Sweden, as part of the European Union, was the sponsor of the Human Rights Council resolution in the March session, establishing the fact-finding mission. We have received worrying information and reports from Rakhine that warrant a closer look and closer scrutiny. Sweden thinks that we need to go to depth with those pieces of information and fight any impunity and encourage accountability for those human rights violations and abuses that may have taken place.
How has their refusal to engage in this process been received in the European Council and the European Union?
We encourage, and this is what I'm going to convey to representatives of the Myanmar government tomorrow, when I will have the opportunity to discuss, to encourage Myanmar of seizing the opportunity to engage and to cooperate with the Commission, because it's also it's also an opportunity for Myanmar to state its cause and to provide its information about what may have happened in October and the period after that, and what might be going on right now. So it is an important opportunity also for the government of Myanmar. And then, of course, we welcome the interim recommendations of the Annan Commission, and we look very much forward to the final recommendations that will be presented in August. And we welcome the fact that the government has accepted the interim recommendations and have started their implementation.
Okay. So the fact-finding mission itself also deals with conflict in Kachin and northern Shan state. Is that going to be another focus of your advocacy and your discussions?
It is going to be part of it, yes.
To encourage perhaps a more open-minded approach to the fact-finding mission?
I'm looking forward to discussing with the government of Myanmar their approach to the fact-finding mission that Sweden stands fully behind.
Okay. So Sweden adopted the world's first freedom of information legislation.
Yes.
To this day, information and research in Burma can be quite difficult or unwieldy to access. Can you speak to the importance of having a legal framework that ensures this right for every citizen of Burma?
Well, I can say that for us it has meant so much. It has built very strong and transparent institutions that are truly accountable to the population, where every individual in Sweden can request a public authority to divulge information. And it has created a very healthy, dynamic partnership between media and authorities, and also leading to closer collaboration with civil society. All this has helped us in our policy formulation and policy implementation. So it's certainly an experience that has brought not only justice and ensuring the population's rights in accordance with the international human rights obligations that Sweden has subscribed to, but it has also helped foster a very healthy, open climate of our society.
Sure. And how would you link the access to freedom of information with some of the ongoing problems we mentioned briefly before, 66D, defamation? How are those two issues linked, particularly in a society like Burma, which is just starting to open up?
Well, I think that for every society, be it a very peaceful and stable politically society as Sweden, or in Myanmar, where we are in a transition that is hopeful, promising, but with some hesitancy and some question marks. I think that freedom of expression and respect for all human rights is the way to choose to ensure a sustainable national reconciliation.
Okay. And what other parts of the country will you be visiting in your time here?
I'm going to visit Sitwe as well. I wish I could have traveled even further. I will, of course, go to the capital tomorrow. But after this trip, I'm continuing on to Thailand and to the Philippines.
Great. And do you think you'll be making a return visit in the near future?
I certainly hope, because the first hours have been fascinating.
Right. Annika, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kimberley.
Thank you.